Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. It's 9:21 p.m. Central Standard Time. We just got a package delivered. Oh, a coffee thing, whatever you call them. It coffee pot sits there, and it's we got a real small one. The one before that, which was uh, pretty much brand new, was broken almost immediately when my son got the one before this one. He broke it and it was leaking coffee, and I finally got around to ordering actually I told the Darlene, uh, my ex-wife, to go ahead and order one, and so we just got it in, and it's a lot smaller, but it looks better, but it was inexpensive. Uh, as we just got that, there is another package supposed to be delivered today. I thought they'd be delivered together, and it is. And I think that was fireworks, but I was out just a couple hours ago. I took something into the trash, and I heard gunshots then. You know. Now I think this is fireworks that I'm hearing now, and plus too, I got the headphones on. Here in the United States, there's people who love guns so much, men who love guns so much that they look for any way that they can shoot guns off. And so, of course, 4th of July, New Year's, uh, what other one would it be? A whole bunch. And they shoot guns off. And uh, usually there's you know, somebody is killed or injured by it. I lived in Kansas City, Missouri area, and on the 4th of July, uh, a family, in a housing subdivision or whatever, uh, in their backyard, they were, having fireworks and hot dogs, I guess, and stuff like that. Kids out there with sparklers and stuff like that. And boom, a girl, I forget her age exactly, 8 years old, 7 years old, she was out there and dropped over dead, shot in the head. And the police were able to figure out it was a couple of guys, if I remember correctly, on in a housing division or apartments or something like that. And they went out, hey, an excuse to shoot our guns, and they went out on the patio or whatever of their apartment complex, and they were shooting at a lake, I think it was. I don't think it was a swimming pool. I think it was a lake they were shooting at, and the bullet, hit the water and went along, and then went and hit this, girl and killed her. Um, so those, I don't know how many of those things happen each, um, each year, but they do happen. I think the the thing is, it's just dangerous to. I took the trash out a while ago. I'd heard some, popping and banging. Now, when I was a kid, uh, fireworks were, man, it was, you know, going off all the time. The kids were throwing them fireworks, and in Missouri, the one place I lived, at, in Kansas City, Missouri, but the area of the houses in that area was like some red clay, or the soil was like red clay, and so, I would, I'd dig out little areas and I'd put those uh, famous, I think, you could buy a bag of rubber soldiers in different positions, uh, a sniper or a, guy with a machine gun or little tiny things, and so I'd put them in these holes and then light lady fingers, which are really low power, uh, and throw them and that kind of stuff. But you'd walk down the street, you're walking down the sidewalk, 4th of July, and people fireworks were just everybody was shooting them off. Uh, one 4th of July that I remember, I was a reserve police officer for I don't know how many years, 8 or 9 years or something, in a small town. Well, I patrolled every Sunday, and I never missed a Sunday. I didn't have to. I mean, each of the reserve officers, there was I think 7 of us, and uh, you could pick the day you wanted to, that you wanted to patrol. I mean, they wanted us one, but and when I came on board, there was one day available, and it was Sunday, which was fine because I had uh, Monday and Tuesday off on my real job, and so I mean that worked out. So I could, and when we got a one, full-time police officer, he came in on the midnight shift, and so now, so on Sunday, I would go in. I could go in whenever I wanted to on Sunday, but I'd, it would vary a little bit. I'd go in, 5 p.m., 7 p.m., something like that. And then, the full-time officer, when we finally had one, he'd come on duty, I think, about midnight. And uh, I would stay over, you know, for till 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. because I could do that or whatever. Uh, and it's a good thing I did one time because he attempted to stop 2 guys who were breaking into homes right outside of Raymore, in the country, farmhouses, things like that, and they were stealing guns. And he tried to stop them about 2 or 3 a.m. and they took off at a high rate of speed. And and I happened to be there where I could, help out. Uh, there's more to that story than that, but I may have already told the story. I mean, there's quite a bit of stuff. By the way, I've seen for the first time on the site here in the last couple of days or whatever a negative comment. It's really strange. I've been doing this since 1982, and I've almost never got a negative comment, and I got a couple in the last. I'm not going to say anything because I'm not trying to stir up trouble with. Well, I wouldn't stir up any trouble except I have an idea where they came from, and so they over there apparently are used to making negative comments, or maybe they're used to making really good comments, about how great that person is, and then they come over here to make it. I don't care. But it's just strange. All of a sudden, I got a couple of negative comments, and um, so I'm using for this, of course, Manicam, and I purchased another uh, program like Manicam yesterday, I think it was. I used it a little bit. I don't like it right now, but I'll give it another try. And um, I like Manicam. It's simple. I mean, it's kind of simple, and I mean, just some of these other things. And I was just messing with OBS again a little while ago, and I know that a whole bunch of you like OBS. And now it's a little more difficult, I think, and I've messed with it repeatedly, off and on, over the years. Uh, just like I've messed with Linux, different versions of Linux over the years. And there's a couple of versions of Linux that I like. And I've I've done all right with Linux. The only time I have a problem with Linux, and then it becomes a problem for Windows, is when I do a dual boot. If I just install Linux on a computer, it's fine. You know, works fine. Great. Everything's okay. If I install Windows, it's great. No problems, no crashes. Well, I mean, you used to get that blue screen or whatever, but I don't count that. Um, no problem. But my problem with Linux really is, I'm going to be running Windows unless I can afford to go with, I want to go with Apple. I'm 82 years of age, and I've never had any experience really with Apple. You'll see in a video where I did actually try it for a couple of days, but I couldn't get you have to have an Apple, uh, you know, email, an ID, and it wouldn't let me create one for some reason, so I returned the computer to Amazon. Um, but my problem, I think I said that. Yeah, my problem was when I'm using Windows and then I decide to install Linux and to do it as a dual boot. And eventually, what always happened to me was, uh, I think it was usually Windows, I think, but maybe not. Uh, One of the systems, and I think it was usually Windows, would overwrite the boot startup thing on the hard disk or whatever, and then I'd have to format, and then I wouldn't put Linux back, you know. I just format and put Windows back. Uh, Apple has some really great stuff now, and I'd like to. I'm not sure I can afford to do it, but I'd like to go with Windows for a while. I mean, with Apple, I'd like to go with that. I'd like to give it a try and play with their hardware and their software, because I think with this, what I'm doing, I think would work out really well with the Apple computers and their software. I would be able to, be doing this and easily and have something going on in another, uh, part of the screen and do all kind. I think I could do a lot with it. I've messed a little bit with artificial intelligence, AI, and I've talked about that, and you've seen some of the results of it on my site here, and it's been interesting to play with, but I just played with it a very little bit. Uh, I think I want to talk about politics a little bit, so all of you who don't want to hear about politics, come back for the next video. You know, uh, the Constitution of the United States, really written well, and of course the people that did it were great, um, and they really did a great job. But we know now that there are problems with it, and the problem is Republicans have always been a problem, and now it's gone, you know, so far insane and so far crazy or whatever. So what I would like to happen, but that's not going to happen, is I would wish that Republicans would just remove you know any Republican that that voted for Trump, is a Trump supporter, approves of anything that he did. I mean, all that. Just I wish that they would just remove those people, and then you would have the Democrats, and they're not. They're taking bribes, no matter what you call it. When they're giving money to help for their campaign and that type of. Well, okay. What I'd like to see happen is I'd like to see fundamental changes made to the Constitution of the United States. Now, one thing would be, shouldn't be necessary, but one thing would be, now one way you could do that is to hold a constitutional convention, but that scares the hell out of me. And unless unless you have people that are smart, and unless you have people of goodwill and people who love the United States and want the United States to continue, if you have some bad players and you have a constitutional convention, they could do just about whatever they wanted to do. That wouldn't be good. Now, we want to keep our Constitution, but it needs to be changed. It needs to be improved, and there's things that need to be done. Unfortunately, the one thing that needs to be done that you shouldn't have to even, because it should never come up, and that is that, the President of the United States could pardon himself. The Constitution needs to be changed, and that's one little thing that needs to be fixed. A president should never be able to pardon himself. But what I'd like to see would be go even further than that, and that should be that there are procedures that are sort of spelled out. You don't want to spell everything out. Our founding fathers did a great job without making a massive, massive document. But it should be people who are going to be pardoned. It should go through some procedures. I mean, what goes through now, I think, like when the Democrats are in office, it goes through, somebody has to be somebody wants to request it or recommend it, somebody be pardoned, and then that goes to, I'm not sure, which, and these people are checked out, whatever. All these things are checked out, and then it goes to the, if you're talking about a presidential pardon, then it gets to the desk of the president. And so I'd like to see that, that changed, where that should be, changed. That's one thing. To, the Supreme Court. And I saw just a while back, I think it was on CNN or someplace like that. Maybe it was a video that I saw. And people of goodwill, smart people, politicians or whatever. I know some of you are going, politicians, oh, they're horrible, I sort of agree with you in a way. But some plans, ideas have been drawn up in the past. Hey, this is a way we could go with, Supreme Court. The one I saw, and I don't remember the exact details of it, but the way it would work was that each president, when he's elected for a 4-year term, of course, he can appoint him. There doesn't have to be a vacancy. He can appoint a member to the United States Supreme Court. Now you're saying, well, there'd be too many people. No. In the Constitution of the United States, it doesn't spell out, how many, Supreme Court justices there will be. It doesn't spell out a whole bunch of stuff. That was just decided, And anyway, the way this thing worked out, that would be ideal. I mean, because you saw what Trump did, which was really chicken shit, whatever. He got to appoint 3 United States Supreme Court justices. And, well, you know Donald Trump, so you can imagine he picked these people, and he did it in a backhanded, way that hadn't been done before. A vacancy became, let's see, Obama was president, and a vacancy became, I think Obama had about a year or less to go in his thing, and the Republicans decided we're not going to hold hearings on, we're going to wait, you know. Now I thought that was kind of a mistake because I thought that uh, Hillary Clinton was probably going to win the election, but Trump won it. And I thought myself, I was thinking, well, they're making a mistake doing that, but I also thought it was not proper. They didn't. The Republicans said, fuck you, Obama. We're not going to hold, uh, meetings, uh, to check out, and investigate the background of whoever's, that we're just going to wait and let the next president, you know. So that was one that Trump got to a point. And then um, another one became available, and that was, okay, one was like Obama should have, Obama was president for like a year, and they just refused to appoint, and that worked out for the Republicans. And then there was one that before uh, uh, Trump took office, he was elected, but there's a time span because of the Constitution, the way it was written. We didn't have airplanes and stuff. Well, Trump doesn't know that, but we didn't have airplanes because Trump uh, thinks that we had. He's talked about that. That we had airplanes back during the Revolution or something. Oh, God help us. But so it was still. Um, uh, I think it'd still be Obama, wouldn't it? Yeah, yeah. Um, so Trump had been elected, but he was not president of the United States, and he would not be for a month or two, and until he took the oath. And so there, became, and another one that they kept, but this, and then Trump was elected. I mean, Trump took office, and then he got to a point on one because, but the way the Constitution should be changed. But right now, with the people, the Republicans that you have in there, they're screwed up, and I wouldn't want them voting on anything. So, but so anyway, the Constitution, which should be changed, and it should be when you're president of the United States, you'll get to appoint a United States Supreme Court justice, and two, you can. Um, decide. It can be decided what the Supreme Court justices, do. Uh, that's not written into the Constitution. It's decided by, I don't know, the judicial committees or something like that. And so if there's some, you could. Uh, anyway, the thing that I saw spelled that out really well. It looked like a plan where you wouldn't have to worry about, things like Trump happening and being able to screw everything up and that type of stuff. Then there's, other things like that should be. It'd be great if we could go in and change them. But we, you know, two, you got to be really careful that it the Republicans are. There's a whole bunch of them who are not, and unfortunately, they're the ones that are holding office. It looks like. Um, because there's a lot of Republicans out there that are, sure, okay, they love guns, maybe, but Democrats love guns too. I hope there's a whole bunch. They're men. If they're men, is that being sexist? Because I'm sure there's women out there that shoot guns a little bit. Um, but um, it'd be a good idea if we could just change some of the um, some of the things could be changed, and the Supreme Court would be a really good way to do it. Because we see now the shenanigans, which, by the way, are the three Republicans that got in because of Trump to the Supreme Court. Um, and one, of course, Thomas, who did not get in because of, Thomas had been in for a long time. But there was some shenanigans that went on then uh, that, through the judicial system. So things need to be changed. A whole bunch of things could be changed. And it'd be so much better if we could fix these things that need to be fixed. Um, One thing that's been talked about is, and supposedly, I think it's true, that Texas, well, of course, okay, that one thing that the Texans down here don't know or they don't want to remember is, okay, Texas was, you know, founded, fought the Texans, fought Santa Anna and whatever, and, you know, then they became a country. And of course, they wanted to be part of the United States, but you have to go through a procedure, and uh, so supposedly, well, by the way, um, okay, the Texans won against Santa Anna. They had their territory, but right away they wanted to be part of the United States, and uh, and then I think because the Texans think they have, and I think they're probably correct about that, that the paperwork or whatever drawn up was that the state of Texas, the Texans, uh, could divide their state of United States state. That at some time in the future, if they wanted to do it, they could divide it into 3 states because it's such a big state and there was so few people in Texas. And um, I kind of like that idea, but I want everything done fair and square and in a decent way. I don't want it to be, you know. And by the way, Washington D.C. is, a district, like a federal district or whatever, and that's presented problems in the past and recently, and it's big enough. It's bigger than Washington D.C. is bigger than some of this, the population or whatever is more than a whole bunch of states that we have, and so Washington D.C. should become a state. Maybe call it capital state. I don't know, but I think that should happen too. But it can't happen if you got crazy people in the legislature or whatever. Plus two, for changes to the Constitution, which is the way it should be. If Congress votes something, we want to change this, then it has to go, and I think 2/3 or 3/4 of the states have to approve it. And that's a problem, because you're going to get, if you got some stupid people or people that have got an axe to grind or something like that, then that's not going to work. There's a lot of things that can be done, but right now nothing can be done until we solve the problems that we've got now. But I really was surprised that they pulled up a plan that would be great and decent. It would solve the whole problem with Supreme Court appointees or whatever. And it's one of there were several that I saw. I think on CNN, on their someplace like that. I think maybe it was on a YouTube video. I don't remember, but they came up with a good way to solve a problem that we wouldn't have to go through, this horrendous thing that we go through. And now Diane, whatever, Feinstein or whatever, senator from California, Democratic senator from California, who was like a vegetable for a whole bunch of time, and nothing could be done. Uh, and by the way, we sort of had that with Ronald Reagan, but I've been into that. I've been in that before. You know, my mother had Alzheimer's, and I recognized Alzheimer's in him when he was president of the United States. And uh, but you know you it's a problem. But there should be some corrections to go in there and to take care of the situation. I'm not sure exactly. Probably there have been plans. Some smart people have probably seen what the problem is and came up with different. I don't know exactly how it would work since there's two senators for each state. Maybe the governor of the state along, but you'd have to make it so you didn't have, say you have two Democrats, two Democratic senators from your state, and then you get a Republican governor. The governor should be able to come in, and that would be really, come in and both of those people, they're not capable. They're whatever. So you'd have to come up with some way that was. But people, there's a lot of smart people out there. There's none in this room right now, but there's a bunch of smart people out there that could come up with things, and we could change a whole bunch of these, problems, and it would be so much better. Um, I really think, but I'm a liberal Democrat, but you know, Donald Trump, said that he was going to appoint the best people, that he knew how to appoint the best because he was, I guess, the host of a TV show that fired contestants or something. And he was a businessman. Of course, he's a failed businessman. He's never, his father gave him billions of dollars, and he lost it all. And every business that Trump has had has failed. Even it's unheard of for somebody to own a casino and have it fail. How can you fail when people? And I've done it. I've gone and take my money. I want to play this machine. And so he was a failed businessman too. And so there isn't anything good about Donald Trump. And it's unbelievable that, my God, he's got 90 felony charges against him. And now I do think that he was involved in insurrection and treason, in my opinion, against the United States of America. And the Constitution spells out if you are guilty of that, you can never hold office, federal or state office of any kind, and but uh, it would look like political type of, and then the Republicans would get, like the Republicans want to impeach somebody because Trump got impeached twice. Impeach, by the way, means that you are charged with the thing. It doesn't mean that the Senate voted. We've had one president who was Andrew Johnson. No, he wasn't. He was impeached, but he wasn't removed also. And it was, now there you go. There's a situation. One vote would have removed him as, because he was vice president. Abraham Lincoln was killed, and he came from a southern state, and there was all kinds of, and it's like, so the vote was, he was saved by one vote. John F. Kennedy, in his book, which Republicans back then, just sweared, I don't know, and I don't fucking care. He wrote Profiles in Courage, President John F. Kennedy, and it's about remarkable people, you know, who uh, did remarkable things and whatever. And uh, Andrew Johnson, there was political stuff. Let's get him out of there. He's a Southerner anyway, and blah blah blah, and all that kind of stuff. And there was a senator from Kansas, the state of Kansas, a Republican, hardcore Republican from the state of Kansas, and he voted not to impeach Andrew Johnson, and that's it. I mean, and of course he had threats against him. I'm not sure if he had threats against him. His career of political career was over, and I think he had a farm, and that's all he had, and probably his neighbors probably wouldn't buy his milk or his wheat or anything. I mean, he was ruined, but he did the courageous and honest thing. I hope they've erected a monument or something to him, because that's a man who really stood up for what was the right thing to do. Anyway, rambling on. I don't think any of you want to hear about politics. I'm using Manicam, even though I just bought this other program, but it was only, I think, about $35 or $40 for the other program. I thought it would be better, but I haven't messed with it very much. I messed with it for a few minutes. And earlier today I messed around with OBS a little bit. OBS I would just need to spend a bunch of time messing with it. And I'd rather do this than be messing with, setting it up or something like that. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.